Hey, we're going to change this one up a little bit as we wrap up season 3 of this, or season 2 of all of this growth mode podcast. I'm pretty stoked about what we're fixing to do going into season 3. So, just a sneak peek, we are going to be start interviewing in season 3 and bringing on some cool guests and having some really cool conversations from the angle of them teaching Kevin and I some cool things to learn as we're building the business. And we've already started recording some of those episodes, and they've been really fun conversations. So I'm looking forward to season 3, which comes out in January. But for this episode, we are going to wrap up 2022. And Kevin and I are going to walk through kind of some of the big swing highlights of 22, some of our biggest takeaways and lessons learned. Probably talk a lot about our fuck ups this year and the things that he really screwed up this year, because I was perfect throughout the entire fucking endeavor. And
do you really want to start that way?
Yeah, no.
I have some stories we can share.
Not at all. So let's do it. Episode 122, wrapping up 2022. It's kind of cool. All right, so 22. What a wicked year of fucking growth and just a lot of business development. But I mean that from the how we've grown as business leaders, as we've grown as business owners, as we've built different foundational things, and we've fucked up a lot this year too. And I know we both kind of got a list of shit down here that we've talked about. And what we've learned. And the biggest thing that I wanted to start off is the second one on my list, which is how much we've actually evolved from, the first year of starting to work together to, I mean, for me, it's 5 years in business, but I think working with you now, it's 3.5, 4 going on that. So, it's been fascinating. I remember a conversation we had at this year's Badass Business Summit when you said, I go back and I look at the pictures from our original summit, and you said, I don't even recognize that guy. Dude, I felt the same way. If you go look at those summit, you're in fucking, business attire. I'm not wearing a ball cap. It's pretty wild how far we've come in that short of time. But for you, I think people would be fascinated to learn really about your evolution of, introverted dude to actually really wanting to get on a lot more stages and put yourself out there more.
Yeah, I think this year has been the year of change for both of us. There's been a lot of things that we've done to really focus on how we develop and not just how the business grows. And I think that's been really the big thing that's been the catalyst for everything we did this year is we've really focused on, all right, so how do we go bigger? What does that actually mean? How, what do we have to have in place in our worlds individually to be able to support that? And, for me, it's how do I get comfortable being in the spotlight? Because I'm cool on stage, but then I just let me go disappear for a while and recover, and so I had to really get used to how I be the center of attention. And I've never wanted to be the center of attention. And even when I was in sports and I wrestled, so I was literally the center of attention during a match. But for some reason for that, I was literally I didn't process it that way because I was really focused on the moment and the competition piece. So that's been one of my big things is figuring out, all right, so how do I do this? How do I be the center of attention guy that is, comfortable being under the spotlight all the time? And how do I protect myself so that I don't burn out and so that I stay effective doing my role in the company and that we don't let all that other stuff slide?
Yeah, it's been interesting because we've even had talks of you building out your own personal brand and bringing that to the forefront to help bring more awareness to the companies overall. And especially this latter part of the year, you've done well. Gotten on a couple stages, gotten on a lot more podcasts. Hell, there's been a couple of months you beat me with podcast interviews. And so it's really cool to watch your journey unfold. And I would say for me that I continue to learn to be a damn CEO. I've still got a lot of foundational things I've got to learn, and it's been fun trying to learn those things and evolve myself. I think truly one of the greatest things we did this year was adding in how we start every operational meeting, which was, how'd you work on yourself? And that's been a fun, frustrating experience to go through, you know, trying to understand how Kevin fucking works on himself versus me frustrated with my own personal growth and my own journey. So, but it was a impactful thing. I think it was the right move for us this year.
Yeah, and that was on one of the things on my list, that it's really important that you have to work on yourself, not just work on growing your business. And you know, Donnie and I are both fine sitting on a call and talking business and ideating and talking about it. How do we do this and what do we do next? And for hours at a time. But there comes a point where you need to be able to actually execute all that stuff, and you need to understand what's preventing you in some cases from executing all those things and why you get stuck in patterns. And that was our I think one of our big realizations this year, is that we were both stuck in repeating patterns. And we had to figure out how to get past that and how to take that step that allowed us to actually build who we were individually as people. And then for us, learning how we did that differently and being okay with the fact that each of us did it differently. Because you got frustrated with me, and I was frustrated with you because I wasn't having the same aha moments that you were. And
I can't help it. You're broken.
well, he says that as a joke, but that was literally the feeling I had at one point. He's like, well, fuck, I must be broken. I don't have aha moments like this. And it was just literally, no, I do it differently. My aha moments are reading things and it's like, oh, we need to be doing that. And learning things in a different way, which then keyed things in my brain to think, oh, that's important. Whereas he just has them randomly throughout the day. Right. He does. He'll literally be walking. I just had an idea. This hit me. I'm like, fuck, really? God damn it. So,
and just in case anybody's looking, I Googled ideating, and it means to form an idea, imagine, or conceive. So, so just for our simple-minded folk over here. Jesus. I think another cool moment for me personally this year was getting diagnosed with ADHD. I will tell people till I'm blue in the face that, getting diagnosed, there was almost a sense of relief in that. One, but and I can't remember the guy's name who reframed this for me. But I was a dick growing up, and I did a lot of asshole things, and I never understood why I did them. So having been diagnosed with ADHD doesn't give me an excuse, but is one hell of an explanation of why I was that way. I still, need to own up all the dumb shit that I did for sure. But I think that and getting my medications right have been a pivotal moment of growth for me. And I think the focus on the business as a whole has been tremendous. I mean, we've grown a lot. Whether it's be from the morning walks or the ability to do more things like the drive after the summit, those type of things.
Yeah, and that was the one I was going to bring up. When you talk about the change in you after getting diagnosed with ADHD and then getting on the meds, was normally after the summit we're both wiped, and Donnie, to the point that, like, he wouldn't talk on the drive taking me to the airport. You'd be literally like, I don't even want to go to lunch. I just want to go home to the farm. And so our drive would be quiet, which was okay for me. That didn't bother me as an introvert. I'm like, sweet, perfect.
He's creepy.
I don't have to people. But this year we literally talked the entire time. And we both realized that during the drive, it's like, we've never done this before. And that was part because he was able to focus and he was able to manage how his brain was doing this stuff during the summit. He didn't burn out, so that was really cool. And I think it's also allowing us to have some different conversations and work on different things that we wouldn't have if you were still pre ADHD
Yeah,
Donnie.
I mean, I still would joke with Elizabeth told me, I looked at her one day and said, "Babe, I think more." And she goes, "No, it's called you think more on one thing. It's called focus." But I think that's a lot of it, and I think that's where a lot of the mental fatigue and thing that I wrestled with for most of my life. When I had to take that much mental bandwidth because my people don't understand, I think, how crazy my mind worked. Going back to even in elementary school, I had to doodle to learn because I had to distract myself to be able to understand what was going on. And I think, getting this all under wraps so that I can focus in areas has been, you know, tremendous. I got, once again, a lot of growth to go in this arena, and getting better at different things. But no, I think it was really, really cool. I put one in here, the focus on badass and not being a nice guy. I think we're finally getting to that place in business where we're stop helping broken people. And I think I've personally had a tendency to do a lot of handouts, a lot of, help ups, and those very rarely work out. Where we're spending more time, giving something away or trying to help somebody out. And the truth of the matter is they can't strap up on their own boots and get to work, then nothing that we give away for free is going to help them on that journey.
So just to clarify, everyone, he's not saying stop being a nice guy. You can still be a nice person and help people. But, for us, it was really easy for us to, when we'd be meeting with someone and we'd want to see them be successful. We seriously, when we are interacting with a prospect or one of our members in SCN or someone we meet at an event, we want them to win. And we'll totally dive into them and help them figure stuff out. But we've gotten better at figuring out where that point is where, all right, we need to stop giving you free stuff. And now you need to come into a program. You actually need to start doing stuff with us in a formal manner. And it's, that was a big shift for us because it did a couple things for us. One of them was it freed up time, and it elevated, and the other thing was it elevated the levels of the people we were working with and that they got to interact with. And because people were putting skin in the game and actually doing stuff, and they were committed to the process, not just like, oh well, Donnie and Kevin are doing all this stuff for me.
Right. Right.
So it
And
had a
it's tough,
huge
man,
impact.
because
Yeah.
you want to be a nice guy. You really want to see people win, and as you said, they're just not going to win if they're not doing the things. And if they're not doing the things beforehand, it's, like the old cliche of, if you're an alcoholic before you become a millionaire, you're still an alcoholic when you're a millionaire. You just buy more expensive shit. It's the same
Yep.
thing with somebody who's not working on themselves. The other ones that it, I still suck at this, but I'm trying to get better, is understanding that everybody can't read my fucking mind. Yeah, I'm horrible about putting out something and expecting or having an outcome or an expectation that I want to have happen, and it not always being accomplished the way I want to, maybe in the time and manner that I wanted it to. But it's all because I hadn't articulated it. So, Kevin's inability to do customer service has been extremely helpful in explaining what I need from him or other staff, because let me tell you, and I'll bust Kevin chops. This dude never needs to be in customer service ever, because you can see and feel him calling you a dumbass when you're asking the questions out the gate. And it's because they're dumb questions once you see it from his perspective. And so a lot of the dumb things that I would do would be like, hey, page 6 needs this fixed. And he'd be like, what website? You know, what program? What the fuck are you looking at? And I'd realize that that's how I would, do anything, was just give this wide swing this is what I want done versus being able to say, hey, this is what I need.
To be fair, I do the same thing. When we started bringing on team members, I would have, I would just assume they all knew what I knew, and I would say we need this done, and they would then be like, well, how?
Right.
Or it would be getting done fast enough, so then I would just do it because I know how to do it and such. So that is a learning thing. It's hard because you just understand things and it's natural for you. Here's how we do something. Like when we started launching groups 3 years ago, why aren't they just launching groups? All they need to go is do this. I'm like, have you told them this? Well, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you need to tell them how to do it because we've done this. We know the process. It's helping them understand and learn and internalize it themselves. So it has to be a conscious thought process for us and for a lot of people to make sure you're saying the right things.
Well, and that kind of led me down the path of one of my other big things that I didn't write in my list was the idea of teaching what I fucked up and learned. And I think that has been huge, especially for my social media following, but trying to articulate those things I wish somebody would have said to me has been a huge freaking value add to me personally, because now I look at things more through the lens of, where was I 2 years ago fucking this up, and how did I think about it? And by sharing the stories that way, more people have leaned in.
I got in I think it was on LinkedIn, maybe it was on Facebook. I got in a social media argument about this topic.
Imagine that.
Yeah, but the guy had posted that how, if you're going to be out, you're coaching and consulting, you should never tell people how you messed up and
what
to do wrong,
idiot.
because
that guy's a moron.
Because no one's here wanting to learn how to fail. And I was like, well, no shit, Sherlock. No one wants to learn how to fail, but the whole concept of sharing how you failed and how you fix things and how you move forward is what allows people to not have the same mistake.
Yep.
And we went back and forth. I'm like, you know what? Fine. You go do you. But that's, obviously we want to help people different ways. But it was this whole big thing up for him. And I was like, dude, this is the reason people actually want to work with us, is because we're not just telling them what to do. We're like, yeah, we've been there. Let me tell you about what happened this time. And people can relate.
For me, that's the difference between a bro marketer and someone having a genuine desire to help somebody. The bro marketer is going to be like all sunshine and rainbows. Let me blow smoke up your ass. Versus the people that are genuinely interested and invested in your growth as a person. So.
Exactly.
I think something else that's been really, really helpful. And it's having a team around us, but even bringing Keith into the mix, and having Gab and his team, Prodigy in the mix, having Andrea around, bringing on a new person to help with some of the other back end stuff, but getting shit off our plate. For a number of years, Kevin and I have done all the fucking things, and, even down to having a badass business summit and having Amy step in and help us out with that. It's really nice to have a team of people around that are invested in our success. I almost said invested as much as we are, but I don't think anybody's ever going to be that invested. But
no, but it is really cool because we built out our org chart and what we want it to look like with all the positions. And I started filling in all the names, and like, oop, Donnie's doing this, Kevin's doing this, and it was literally us. All our names are in all the spots. And it's really cool now to actually be taking out our names and putting other people in. Being able to add Keith in as the national director for United States for SCN was key. That was it sounds like a little thing, but that's a big milestone for a company that's scaling, is to be able to start taking your names off of duty rosters. Right. And say, oh, yeah, that's not me anymore. You need to talk to this person. And I met with Andrea the other day and went through all the stuff with the support system, and she's going to be managing that. So now I get to go put her in that role, which is awesome. So, and that's a sign that we're actually moving in the right direction. So every time, now every time I get to do that, it's going to be kind of this. I'm going to, maybe get a beer or a rum or something and celebrate. So, woohoo, we're off another list. So,
Well, I
but
think that's
yeah,
going to be a
that
big
is
focus
cool.
for us going into 23 is what else and how do we get it off our plates. The other thing that I think was pivotal for us is all the meetings. Even though I haven't always been the best throughout the year of making the meetings always a priority. I mean, things like Vegas may happen, or a Ren Fair may pop up here or there, but taking the time to actually sit down and work on the business in very strategic fashion. I mean, we've got three, maybe four very pivotal meetings we do each week. One is the operations meeting on Monday. Second one is the SEN meetings where we talk about all the network. Third one being the podcast meetings, and we continue to get more dialed into the different functions and structure of the business. So it's been fun trying to stay more dialed in, if you will.
It's always funny after you've been gone a couple weeks and haven't been to one of our big meetings, and we'll be going through stuff, and you'll literally ask, why is there so many things on the list this week? Like, because we haven't had this for 2 weeks. You have not been at this meeting for 2 weeks, so everything's been piling up.
Well,
So
do better.
what? Yeah, go do more. You don't need to sleep. What the hell? But one of the things we learned this year, and this was a recent thing for us, within the last month, was that these meetings can't be working meetings. We can't come to the meetings and then do the stuff that's on the list. If we want to do a
okay, so
meeting,
one meeting I show up and I didn't have this shit done and ruined the whole. No, I'm kidding. No, that is a real thing, though. I did show up and I didn't have my shit done, so we set the fucking meeting doing my shit.
Well, and for that one item, we had kind of figured out, oh, well, we'll just do, and it was our KPI sheet for the week. We'll just do those every Monday at the meeting and then talk about it. Well, that didn't work how it worked, because it took us a half hour just to figure out all the numbers and stuff. Yep. And then we didn't get all the talking in. So, but even for other things, if there's a task that comes out of a meeting, you don't take time in that meeting to do it. That is now on your to-do list. You now have to go do it and be an executive, manage your time, and get it done, because we still have all the other stuff to talk about.
Well, again, we can get derailed by stupid things like trying to name a goddamn podcast episode.
We can get derailed for stupider stuff than that. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but the podcast episode is fresh. I mean, that just happened like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So, but I think that having the lanes of those meetings and having them focus in particular areas has been very healthy, and even down to the way we've broken down the meeting structure inside and breaking down the different areas and how we work on it's been really, really cool. And bringing Keith was kind of the first person we brought into one of our meetings and trying to figure out that dynamic of now somebody else is reporting on different things and things that are happening throughout the network. So that was really cool to kind of go through and work through. So it's be interesting to see what 23 brings with that.
Yep, definitely. One of the things I had on my list that it was actually the first thing that popped in my head was that idea of having really open lines of communication between business partners. And for me, it was a huge thing that showed up on my list, because as that introverted personality, I would really internalize stuff, and I would be like, all right, I'll just make do.
He said internalize. What he misspelled was overthink.
Well, no, overthink, but also, not talk about it, not bring it up, and just, go with the flow, and this is how it is, and not have the discussion. So it's been cool for me to, build the trust between us over the last year, because we've had some of those really hard conversations that were, a couple years ago, I don't think I would have handled in the same way or as well. But being able to have those conversations and know, all right, so it's going to be a tough conversation, but everything's still going to be okay afterwards, I think was a big learning point and growing point for the
I think I'm learning we had some tougher conversations than I thought we had. I'm always kind of a go with the flow type of thing, but I think it's cool, really cool that you've come to that, because I do really think we've had some tougher conversations in your mind than I thought we had. So, which is healthy to know that we've had those tougher conversations. I mean, let's be honest. When we were starting to first fucking work on ourselves and doing that damn meeting of, how you working on yourself, you were fucking frustrating because you weren't even doing this shit. It's like you weren't even fucking trying. I was like, Jesus Christ, Kevin, we agreed to do this goddamn thing, and here you are showing up with nothing 2 weeks in a row. But we figured it out.
He actually said that,
Yeah,
just so everyone knows. That was
yeah,
actually the conversation.
for sure.
But yeah,
And
and
he
that was one of
cried
the
a little bit.
conversations.
So
And that was one of the conversations that popped in my head. And then there were a couple other ones as well. But, and it was, I think an earlier version of me would have taken that much more personally than I did.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the evolution then, right? From two guys that didn't fully embrace their own fucking identity to where we've come now. Still got a long way to fucking go, but
Yep.
I think we should put the pictures of Badass Business Summit Year 1 up somewhere, because I think that's going to be our most telling photos of the journey.
Well, and the funny thing is that I had this thought the other night. Each episode of the summit, each year of the summit, we've done a picture of the two of us. So you with your, normal pointing finger thing and stuff. And I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to just do one of those every year and have like the timeline. So you could see how it shifts and how we look different, and the difference in the personalities as they come out. So
you're going to look old, draggled, wore out, and I'm just going to keep getting better looking. So I like that process. We should do that.
Yeah, no, that's I think you're going to grow as old as I am.
The other thing that's on your list that I think is really smart is the balance the right now with the 5 years from now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I would say, because I struggle the worst out of the two of us, from the what the fuck is happening now versus where we're going to be in the 5 years from now.
And I'm the opposite. So it's really, if we have this cool conversations, one of us will be like, but we need to think how we scale this. Or then I'll be saying things, and Donnie will be like, but how do we do it now? I know you're trying to plan for things so we don't have to change it every 6 months, but
if you want to hear a funny conversation, he'll throw out an idea, or I'll throw out an idea, and he's like, but that won't scale. I'm like, yeah, but we got to get it started, so we got to get moving. It's got to become a thing, we'll figure out the scale as we go. But that has been a cool thought process. A lot of it, instead of thinking just in the now, is how do we scale this thing? We know technology is going to play a huge play coming up the next few years. But
and I think part of it is we've stopped. We're less reactionary. I think in the first couple years of SCN, it was very reactionary to what was happening. It's like, oh crap, this just blew up. Now what do we do? How do we fix it? Now we're getting better at, when we're throwing stuff out, of, thinking of, in the military, they call it the second and third order of effects. We start thinking about, all right, so what's the impact's going to be? In that first year, we made a huge decision about who could be a member of a group. And literally, we put it out to the world that if you want to be a member of SCN, you have to be a business owner.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, within 36 hours, if not faster, we did a complete walk back.
Yeah. Because
we
might as well call it the walk of shame, because it really felt like the walk of shame when we got done with that one.
Yeah, it was, we had a total response we didn't expect. And, and we made the decision in reaction to other things that were happening, and then think about what that decision would then cause going forward. So I think as we've figured out who we are and what the business is, we've gotten better at thinking about, all right, so what happens when we do this? And we have those conversations, as opposed to, all right, let's try it, which was literally the first year of us working together. Oh, let's go do this. Let's see what happens. All right, let's go.
I'm going to do this because I know you don't like getting asked questions on the spot. So I'm going to give you a moment to fucking think about it, and I'm going to answer the question first. But, what's the biggest thing you're looking forward to in 23? So for me, now I'm going to answer mine first, so you get a minute, because motherfucker, you want to watch this dude squirm. Ask him a question he's going to answer right here and now that is almost philosophical in nature, he's lost every fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for me, I think going into 23 is I'm really looking forward to the additional structure, and the additional roles and the additional personnel that we'll bring into the business. As we've added to our accounting team, as we've added to our personal investment type teams, bringing Mandy into the mix and things. And I think you're going to see a lot more emphasis of Kevin and I get our names and our brand out there, from speaking on stage to speaking on podcasts and the like. So the structure that will come with that, the things that'll be put in place from automation and technology that'll get things off our plate, I think is going to be huge. And I think 23 is going to be a tremendous year of growth for us, because I can't help to think that we've been smacked around pretty good for the last couple of years building all this, that we're right on the cusp of this whole thing completely breaking loose. And so I think 23, maybe towards the tail end, or 24, it's going to be a lot of fun to hold on to the reins and build this all out.
Yeah, I think that's all really cool. The part of the growth that I'm looking forward to is getting to be much more strategic in my thinking, and getting out of so much the tactical and execution piece where I'm doing this stuff, and really starting to be able to think about, all right, so how do we make this bigger? How do we do more of these at once? How do we continually improve the experience for the members? And as we start bringing on the territory leaders in the different markets and the national directors in different countries, how do we make them successful, and how do we allow them to do what we've done and replicate it effectively? That's one thing I'm really excited for. And the other thing, and this is probably going to surprise you, I'm actually kind of excited for figuring out how to do my brand bigger.
That's awesome.
And that's one of the things that's on my list. And all right, I need to figure that out. I need to figure out why I don't like going bigger, and then how I do it. So
I think you just need to quit being a punk. Just fucking do it.
Fuck off. Nope. Fuck all the way off.
That's so. Now you got the same. Now you got the same.
So yeah. So that's, I think, the two things I'm really big, and I'm kind of just doing the assumption that if we do those things, the growth is going to come naturally.
Yeah.
And it's we aren't going to have to be worrying about, ooh, did we get applications today?
Yeah.
And looking at those numbers, we're going to be looking at completely different numbers, that instead of looking at the end KPIs, we're going to be looking at all the stuff that is going to generate that activity. And that gets me excited.
Love it. So guys, as we wrap up 2022 and the second season of Growth Mode, man, from Kevin and I, we just want to thank the shit out of you for hanging with us as we've continued to evolve the show and put out content. The messages and the emails are pretty fucking cool to get, and we really, really appreciate all that feedback. And as we go into, season 3 of Growth Mode, we will be bringing in interviews, man. And I'm telling you, the first 2 interviews we've done already have been absolutely killer. And I think the way we're wrapping those up and packaging those together is going to be a really monstrous impact for this year. So looking forward to those. So please do us a favor. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you're listening or watching this. Leave us a review or a comment, and share this out with one person, man, because sharing it out to other people is huge. It is the biggest value you can bring us to help us grow this thing. And as always, love you, mean it. See you, bye.